jobs, safety, education. All those things impact everyone. Some a little bit more than others. So as long as the person communicates with us, they're going to get a response back, because that's why we're here. We're serving the citizens, and so therefore we need to be responsive to informing them, empowering them, and also getting feedback from them as to what are those things that we ought to be doing, particularly going into next legislative session. We have redistricting coming up, and there have been a number of meetings happening across the state, and I encourage the citizens to attend these meetings, because it's very critical to know where the boundary lines are going. We have Amendment 5 and 6 that was voted on by the voters that I believe that may dilute some of our African American seats. So we have to be very careful in making sure we stay engaged in the process, that when these lines are drawn, they can go to the website, at the Florida State website. I believe the House and the Senate has on their website what the proposal is going to be for those district lines, and see where does your community line up. In some places in South Florida, it's probably easy to have a full complement of African Americans in the district. However, there are others that are not so easy. So if it's being diluted, therefore it reduces your ability to have somebody representing you that looks like you. So that's why it's very important for us to not stay home when these meetings are happening, to know where to find where the district lines are going to be drawn and who's drawing it up and how you can have an input to it, and let your voices be heard.
And there are, I think, about maybe 20 more meetings left around the state, and we did a story in today's paper related to the redistricting, the meeting that was held in Daytona Beach.
Basically, it's important for people to show up. They have to show up, they have to know where to get the information, and they have to give input, not just stay home and grumble about it. Because I truly believe that when everything is said and done, we will see less numbers of black representatives that will be in our state house and our state senate.
Speaking of something that people are grumbling about, it's been said that when America is in recession and the black community is in depression, when America has cold, pneumonia. So what do you say about the number of jobs, related to jobs in the state, and the percentage of 9% overall? However, we know that's more for the black community. So what is your plan? What do you see that we need to do in order to attack this situation? And I know we can talk about what's happening in the Space Coast as well.
It's not going to be a one-size-fits-all for our state, because we have many nuances across our state, from our urban sector to our rural areas, and then we have some items, for example, our failing schools and our blighted areas that we need to address. So it's not a one-size-fits-all, but we have to recognize where those areas are and what we need to do. The first thing our communities need to do is to be honest about what the issues are in our community and how to fix it. For example, I met with the Haitian mayor. What is his name? In Miami-Dade? Yes, I met with him 2 weeks ago, and he has a great idea of fixing up in and around Liberty City. But what we're looking at, as far as in his vision plan right now, which is a good one, is aesthetically fixing up the road, putting some trees, and making aesthetics look good. That's great. However, the types of business you bring in, and what is the workforce looking like? Do you have a workforce board in the area that can train workers that may not have a high school degree, or just got out of high school and didn't get a college degree or a technical degree? Are you training that workforce to go into the types of jobs that's needed in the area to create sustainability? And that's where the local government comes into play. Your mayors, your city council, your county commissioners, they need to come up with a plan that fits their area, because from Tallahassee, we can't drill down to any community and say you have to look like this, because for Palm Beach County's needs, it's going to be completely different from Miami-Dade needs. But any area cannot be left out. For example, our rural areas, they also have challenges with regards to workforce and their training and the skill set. Some rural areas don't want you building in any more than 20 acres for one structure on that 20 acre. That's very difficult if you're looking to bringing in multiple jobs. They may want just one factory in the area and nothing more. So that's why we need to be very mindful of the local municipality and their authority to do what they want for their area. And we should look at this in region, because whether it's transportation, whether it's water use, whether it's how we grow and develop economics in an area, to make sure we're looking at it as a region, because a high tide would raise all boats. But yes, and unfortunately in African American concentrated areas, we have the issue with skill set. We have the issue with our education. We have the issue with blighted communities. So we have RACICs, we have our enterprise zones, and those things need to really be honed in. So how we can attract businesses to give them tax incentives to come in and establish in the area. Because without that extra push, those companies are not going to go in there. They're going to say it's a safety issue. I don't want my workforce going in someplace that have a crime rate that's X. So those social issues need to be addressed in a lateral position too with the economic expansion.
What would you say to the African American community in Florida about your time as Lieutenant Governor, or have you been in? What would you want them to know?
What I want them to know is that they have had an advocate with me being in this position. I go back to the budget time where we had one historical black college that was funded, that was sent from the governor's budget to the legislature. All four received funding because of my involvement in making sure that those colleges and universities were not on the veto list with regards to the monies. $8.77 million went to our HBCUs, and many other programs across the state of Florida that impact our minority communities were saved from being vetoed, including a pharmacy school for FAMU out of Crestview. And with that pharmacy school going in, it's going to afford a pharmaceutical company to come into the area that will partner with the students at FAMU and the pharmacy school, again, creating the jobs and creating a climate there where you have sustainable job growth and opportunities for our citizens to have a good quality salary. So, and this of late, I received a call from the superintendent in Miami-Dade School, Superintendent Carvalho, telling me about the issue with Edison and Central possibly not receiving a waiver and being closed down. So what are the options? Well, you have no charter school or no private entity that has stepped into an urban area high school and changed things around. So we can't just displace those students and say you're going to go somewhere and it's up to the school board. But what's most important is that under Superintendent Carvalho, he's made changes that has resulted in improvements to those two schools that were F schools throughout all these years, and they went from an F school to a C school within a year and a half to 2 years. That is showing marked improvement because of those changes. And the waiver request was, let's see for another year to make additional improvements and also look at the measures. If we continue on the same path of showing improvement, then these schools should not be on the list for closure. So I stepped in and contacted the board members and let the governor know that this was a position that we need to make sure that we support the schools in staying open, and he has agreed that those waivers should be granted. And this morning he's going to make the announcement to the superintendents that this is the right thing to do, because they've been doing all the right things and changing out the principal and changing out the teachers, and results have shown to math improvement, reading improvement, more AP classes being taken, and the school moving from an F school steadily to a better grade school than we've seen in the past. So that's one thing, a couple of things I'd like your readers to know, but they won't see that because they're not hearing that side of the story. They tend to hear all the negatives and the rhetoric, but what our voters and our citizens need to do is do their own homework. If there's ever any question, my office is an open door. They can easily contact the office and find out what's going on. They can visit me on Facebook and see what I'm doing and get the information. They can send an email, and I get a number of emails, and we respond to them. If there's an issue that's going on, people don't understand, and they're whining and complaining and griping, and we send them in the right place or give them the right information so they can have a better understanding. Just the other day I was down to South Florida and on a Hispanic radio station, and they were upset that 2 items got vetoed from the budget. So they thought that the programs didn't get funded, but the programs did get funded. It was the members asking for an increase of $10 million for these programs in a time where we don't have extra money to give increases to programs. So once I explained that, they're like, oh, they didn't tell us that. So that's why it's so important for us to just keep our pipes down a bit and get the information and facts from the people that are the decision makers before we really get into an uproar.
Well, let's talk about your first 6 months. What it's been like to be Lieutenant Governor.
It's great because this is an opportunity that very few people in their lifetime will ever get. So I take my job very seriously, and I take the knowledge and the experience that I have and that I've had through legislative process and through my time in the military and being the executive director of Florida Department of Veterans Affairs, coupled with that, what I bring to the job in helping with enhancing growth opportunities for jobs in the state of Florida, increasing the landscape and making it a better business landscape to enhance those opportunities for years to come, and partnering with community organizations and getting out there and letting the citizens know who I am, what I'm about, and our passion, the governor and I, our passion for making sure that this state is in a better condition than when we took it over. And what he's enabled me to do are those things that I'm passionate about. Our military, defense contracts, space industry, import, export. And he knows that that is something that I like to do, and he's allowed me to do it at whatever reign I want to do it in. He says, to him, as long as I'm successful with what I want to do, he's right behind me. He doesn't want me to do anything that I'm not going to have successes with. And he's been absolutely supportive of the things that I've wanted to do.
And what is your typical day like?
There's no typical day. Every day is different. There's some days that I'll be on the phone a lot more than others, making calls to businesses outside of the state or in the state, meeting with business leaders, meeting with community organizations, putting out some fires, making some new connections. So no 2 days are the same.